hope it fails.
Yeah, good luck.
I'd be very open.
Is that what we on?
Yeah.
Yep. Are we on?
Thank you. Okay, guys.
All right, we'll call it to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening.
Hi.
Thanks for putting the agenda together for us, Kim.
No sweat.
So we have a recommendation of reappointment for the Chief Financial Officer, Michael Marinaccio.
And we did receive a notification, Mike, about the vote, and so I vote to reappoint Chief Financial Officer Michael Marinaccio. Now, do we have, is it a 2-year?
Yep. 2-year appointment.
Right,
Effective
so
April
2 years
1.
effective April 1.
Going to make that a motion instead of a vote?
Did I vote?
You said I vote.
I vote. I move.
Move.
I'm moving from here to there. Moving.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
And that's
Thanks.
You're welcome.
not even a question mark at the end of that. Congratulations.
I almost put it.
It's better than a dental appointment.
I have one of those coming up.
Yeah.
Great. Next item, Summers Little League request for approval of a power switch for a pitching machine.
Yes.
Bring us up to date, Chris.
So we are here to seek approval for the addition of a power outlet behind the pitching mound at that baseball field. It's the Town Hall Minor League baseball field is what we call it. So Summers Little League has contacted us. The purpose being to have an electronic pitching machine that can be utilized for games, to make gameplay more efficient, to make gameplay more safe for pitchers. It's a trend that's emerging in little leagues, certainly in this area, but really across the country. So it's a project that would be financed completely by Summers Little League. It would require 1 day of work, a line, a wire would be run directly from the dugout where the current power source exists, and then there would be a box right behind the mound, and then a power outlet that could be activated through the home team dugout, and it would allow a pitching machine without cords, extension cords running from dugouts, and we think hopefully it would boost registrations at that age level. We think it would make gameplay more efficient, and we think it would make gameplay more safe. So the proposed vendor, all of the work would be done by a third-party vendor. We have a COI on file. There's some permitting that would need to be done. But from our vantage point, it's a home run.
And this is being paid for, well, it's being donated by the vendor who's a member of Little League. So
Nice.
there's no cost to the town.
Right, great.
DPW has been involved in the entire process, is in favor of this.
Is there any insurance thing that we should?
We have a COI from the vendor already. The vendor will be required to get a building permit. There won't be any fee, obviously.
So COI stands for Certificate of Insurance.
Yep.
You gonna note that, Kim? Don't you get in trouble?
Yeah.
I know what it
You gotta
is.
watch out for those acronyms.
Everybody else does. I know.
Right.
So just for good practices as well, I put in a call to Kerma today, and they didn't have any negative
It's
feedback. They
Kerma's
were in favor. So
Great. Any sort of, when it's in use or not in use, is there anything coming up from the ground that would be a trip hazard, or is it all submerged and
It's a flush
ground level?
underground box.
Cool.
That was actually going to be my question. Was there ever a tripping hazard? But should be manning on the safety committee.
I'll find it. Watch
It'll be
me.
there's actually junction boxes out.
I've sent Marie out there. She'll trip over the
Flush
dirt. Don't
junction
worry.
boxes for electrical
It will be a
services.
special trip.
Yep.
It'll be the same kind of thing.
And what about storage of the pitching machine to keep it protected from vandalism, et cetera?
That'll be the responsibility of Little League, and they'll probably use their shed.
The shed.
Okay, great. Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the request by Chris for the pitching machine, installation of the power supply for the pitching machine at the Little League field behind Town Hall.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you
Well
so
done.
much.
That should
Thank
be
you.
a good addition to the field. That'll be nice.
Thank you. See you soon.
Yes, sir.
When is your golf
Thanks,
tournament?
It's not until October 11th this year on the calendar.
October 11th.
That's a cold day for golfing.
I know, man. He kills me every year with it.
There's little competition at that time, so
Yeah.
we're able
Oh,
to
it's a Friday?
maximize our investment.
Nice.
Golf. saved.
Next item, American Legion 100th Anniversary Celebration. Set a date.
Yeah, so that's just getting you guys together, the Board of Selectmen, so you can present the proclamation to the American Legion. So, I throw out you threw me some dates, and I'm kinda looking at the end of April.
Okay.
So, if we could set a date, I think you sent me the, is it the 18th of April?
Yes,
It's
subject
like
to
the-
change every hour.
I know. So if you wanna wait, you don't have to set the, but just, I want you to keep it in your mind, it's gonna be like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I know that's not ideal,
Okay.
but
That's
he
for
says
the
that's when he
Veterans
can get the
Day.
most participation from the Legionnaires, so.
I ran into David McCaffrey.
Actually,
And
April
I-
18th would be ideal.
Yeah?
Would be?
Yeah.
Then let's
Okay.
do it.
All right, so, okay, you got it. So 4/18, and Bud's back, so,
Do we need a motion for that? or-
At
No.
2 p.m.
Okay.
no, because I'll just do a special meeting.
I'm going to add it to my calendar now.
Oh, good.
And the
that
other,
where will this take place? Right
Here at Town Hall.
Okay.
I think they want to do like a little ceremony outside if it's nice, and if not, we'll just do everything in the auditorium. And I asked him to also reach out to the school for the
Good.
Memorial Day program.
yes.
So they can honor them there as well, and make them a part of that. So.
That would be very nice.
And he was very excited about that.
Good.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that little note there, that's just what they did at the library with Jessica. Nice little pictures and stuff like that. So
Great.
That's very
that's
nice.
an FYI kind of thing. That's it.
I told them to try, Dave Marty, and I offered to do a poster, and I think David's really
Oh,
gonna,
the banner.
a
That's
banner
gonna
to
go
go
up,
across the
yeah.
town hall.
Yeah, well, they're gonna keep it up for a month.
I hope so,
Yeah.
because I said they should do that, at least through Memorial
Yeah.
Day.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
Okay.
DPW's on it.
So Todd, we had talked a couple months ago about the flag retirement portals, also one in front of Town Hall and one at the transfer station, I believe?
Yes.
Will they be ready by then, so we could also maybe do everything in one press release, that American Legion and the flag retirement, just get everybody in the spirit of Memorial
I
Day
talked to
coming?
Dave McCaffrey after that meeting, and he was gonna get me a schematic or plan or something, and nothing's happened since then.
All right, if the timeline's too short, no big deal, but it'd be nice to have that up before Memorial Day and
That would be
4th of
good,
July and all that, so
actually.
people can retire flags as they
Good
get
idea.
them.
Yeah, I mean, I gave him, actually, there's precast concrete you could get from vendors and just put it in the ground.
Yep.
It certainly would be possible. We can,
Okay.
get in touch with him.
Thanks. Next item, number 7, budget update. Mike?
Yeah, so Monday evening, Board of Finance had a meeting. They certainly have reviewed the budget in detail. I think most of their comments were focused at the town and that's not on purpose. It's because they didn't really have the detail for the Board of Ed, which I believe they are receiving this week.
Okay.
The tone of it was that there were items that they felt, or particularly Mike Parker felt, needed to be looked at again.
Excuse me.
He characterized some of our accounts as placeholders, and I really object to that calling it that, because they're really not. And he questioned some of the spend rates on some of the accounts. Their actuals weren't even what they are in this year's budget. Why are we budgeting it at this level next year? And for most of those, and Brian answered a lot of those very successfully, a lot of those are fourth quarter expenses, things that come up to us at year end. And so you're not going to see it. The budget he is looking at right now is as it's through February.
Mhm.
So we still have a full quarter left of items. So, but with that said, we made an honest effort to revisit the entire budget just to make sure that we're scrubbing everything. And so I talked to Bud about this. There's 3 key areas that we thought we could reduce because we have information now that we didn't have before.
Okay.
And the first area is the FICA area, where we proposed the FICA alternative, and we said that we would be saving
40?
Around 40,000.
Mhm.
Well, we thought we'd be conservative because everyone might not sign up for that. So we're estimating a savings of 35,000 in our budget on that. So that's one area we would cut 35,000.
Okay.
The second area, and I think you'll remember the discussion we had on this, was the separation payout line
Yeah,
item.
you're going to do two?
Now, what we have done is I had contacted our actuary, Hooker and Holcomb, and have gone through like 5 different scenarios with them, none of which would affect the general fund. All of them affect using the pension fund or variations of that. So I feel comfortable in taking, and we haven't finalized that yet, but without any hesitation, I feel comfortable in reducing that line item by 30,000. We had it budgeted at 40. It's now going to be 10. And that 10 would be for those employees who are not vested in the plan and leave town service and need to be paid back for any accumulated sick and vacation time. That's what that 10 would be budgeted for. If someone is vested in the plan, then we'll have different options to consider. We haven't decided what that'll be, and you will know what that's going to be when the time comes. But
So-
Brian and I are analyzing those options right now. Then we'll meet with Bud, then we'll meet with you. So it's without hesitation. That's 65 right there, and then we also talked about what our usage history has been in the unemployment compensation account.
Mhm.
And like year to date, it's like $250 or $254 or so. Last year it was maybe 400 and some odd dollars. And that line item has been budgeted at 14,000. And Parker called our attention to that and scrutinized that out. And I agree with him there.
Yeah, and
So-
the last time it was even remotely close was in fiscal 16. We spent like $7,000.
So
So you figure that
So
was 3 years ago,
we've
it was
reduced
4,
that
but it was
down to $4,000, saving $10,000 in that account. If by some chance it does exceed that 4,000, I guess we'd have to go to the Board of Finance for an appropriation, or we could see if we had funds to transfer into that account. So we did a lot of explaining. Most of the questions were to the town. I assume that at their next meeting on, it's a special
April
meeting for
10th,
the
I think,
10th,
Yep.
that the focus will be, okay, town, what are you cutting? And if they watch this film here, they'll know that we're at least thinking of $75,000 out of our budget, without really getting into the nitty-gritty of other accounts. These are things that come to mind right away. So I would recommend that you vote to reduce those line items by that amount. I don't think you need to vote to resubmit an entire budget. I think you're just addressing it by line item.
Did the Board of Finance give you an indication of how much they wanted us to reduce it?
Well, he was talking in the neighborhood of $140,000 to $170,000, which he thought was related to placeholder accounts, and it's really not the case. I mean, he was saying that we have, legal fees are high. We can't reduce a legal fee account because we're going to have negotiations and contracts for the mill, for the construction, for a whole host of issues. We get more appeals now on our assessments because we're challenging. So that's just not a placeholder. That's an
No,
account where legal fees
That's
are.
not a placeholder, but I've heard Michael say that before.
And we did set aside some money for reval in this budget, did we not?
Correct.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't questioned. There was questions about dues and seminars being a placeholder, and I don't agree with that at all. We had put money in dues and seminars, ended up not using them because we had the Bay Path option.
Yep.
We're probably not going to have the Bay Path option in the 20-year budget, so I want the money back in dues and seminars so that people can be trained, and people need to be recertified. I have a certified tax collector, I have a certified appraiser. They all have to take certification courses and get recertified. So
Don't we also have new software coming in for appraisals?
Yes, we do.
That people are going to have to be trained for.
And not only is that software coming in, they're also going to move the files to the cloud, so
Right.
that off of our servers. So
It's funny, I'm having the same discussion with my boss at work. He's got all this great technology. I said, what's our training budget? He said, what do you mean? Got 140 salespeople around the country
Yeah.
trying to use their phones to get to the data, and he's upset because
Right.
they're not using it. It's like,
So-
well, we didn't train anybody.
I think unless you're on the ground here every day and,
Yep.
you really understand the nuances of what is going on, I'll take your suggestion as to look at that account, but I'm not going to make a cut just to make a cut if it's going to hurt us. So right now I'm proposing 75,000. I think if the Board of Ed does what they do, the entire budget is really in reach, a fund balance reach. And they're going to have to make a decision how much fund balance to use and whether or not they want to levy any kind of or a proportion of a tax. As I see it right now, it looks like fund balance will probably take care of it. But I just see no problems in them re-scrutinizing and telling us to go back and look at this. They're doing their job. And so those are the three areas right now that I think we should.
I was going to ask you a question about the not the separation payment. More specifically on a retirement, do we still have a number of employees that have accrued like all that sick time that we couldn't do because they grandfathered it in?
No.
It's
No.
not there anymore.
No, anyone who was above the cap was capped out, and that's just.
That's a blessing, because we had to pay 180 days of accrued sick time, and that was mind-boggling. I remember then it was in the 60,000 area or something.
Well, we have a bunch of we supplied the actuary with all our people, their ages, their potential, their accumulated sick time, their potential payouts, and there were a few who were in the above 30,000.
Mm-hmm. But they're long-term employees, no doubt.
Yes, they are. And his observation was that you're approaching a bump in the road. That once this bump, you go over this bump, then there is a smoothing after that, because there really is no exposure anymore after that. So he feels it as though it can all be done without touching the general fund. So therefore, there's no need to budget for that. So.
I feel better about that.
So
Yeah.
the only question I have is on the FICA alternative. I don't understand what that is.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, you weren't here
Okay.
last week when we. So
All right.
I'll give you the quick overhaul.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a benefit plan that back in the 50s was made available through the Section 218 that every town in the state signed on to. When the towns signed on to it, they got to choose who they paid Social Security to and who they could opt out of Social Security. Town of Somers made it so that they could opt out from paying part-time, seasonal, temporary, and volunteers Social Security.
Okay.
So what this does is offers them a benefit plan that would remove Social Security from their paycheck, both on the town contribution side and on the employee side.
Like teachers.
Yep, and create a new deduction that would go into a personal 457 plan that would be managed, gain interest, and that they could then
Portable.
take disbursements from once they leave the town.
And that's defined contribution then instead of defined benefit, or is it?
It is a
even
defined contribution. It's 7.5% contribution, as opposed to the 6.2, but it's a pre-tax contribution as well. So it reduces their taxable income as well.
And that saves us.
Saves us
40,000.
potentially
Saves us the
48,000.
FICA match.
Yep, it's potentially
We don't put
40.
anything in.
We don't
have
put
to do it.
anything in. The maximum would be about 48 grand. That's if everybody signed on. There are some cases where some people it may not benefit
Yeah.
them to sign on to
There,
it.
there is no option. You will be on it if you're a
If
seasonal
you're a new employee, yeah.
Seasonal or new, you are on it.
As of June
If
1,
you're
all
an-
new hire
If you're an
part-time.
existing employee, you have the option
Okay.
to either
I think
sign
another
on.
benefit there is for all your part-time seasonal young kids who come in
Yep.
here.
Yeah,
You know, they get a little bit more out of their pay,
Yep.
and it's portable for them.
I did the quick numbers for Chris because I sent out an email to all the directors on Monday or Tuesday one about it, and was letting them know that there would be an informational meeting and what day it would be and so forth. And Chris called me and asked me if there was what it would mean for his summer camp kids, and I said, well, you take your average kid that's making $10.50 an hour for summer camp, 40 hours a week for 8 weeks. This is their total.
They're never going to
Then
see
you take
Social
7
Security.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Not only are they paying, not only are they currently paying Social Security that is never going to be part of their
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
benefit,
Yeah.
but then you take the 7.5% of those earnings, and it's like $250 that when they leave at the end of summer, they can get a check
Yep,
and they get their money back.
Good.
perfect.
It's good for these college kids.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting FICA?
so we're suggesting reducing our FICA line item
Yep,
in the
the-
budget
and the
by
unemployment.
35,000.
Yep. Unemployment by 14?
By
Or
10.
By 10, okay.
Right.
No.
Yep, unemployment
And what
by
was the
10.
third one, Mike?
And the separation payout by 30,000.
30,000.
So a total of 75.
Yeah.
All right, so legal's not in the reductions?
No.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
because with the stuff going on up on Hall Hill and all the other things we've got
Well,
going on.
we
Right.
have all this mill business going on.
Exactly.
And development,
Well,
that's going to require.
Yep.
And that's
And
not
with
that's not just
assessments.
outside council. That's having inside council at meetings and stuff also too. So
Yep.
that'll increase the rate for that. So
Can we say FICA, or do we have to spell out what it means?
it does mean you
Federal-
did say what it was.
Federal
I did.
I don't know.
insurance.
Federal
Contributions.
Insurance Contributions
Contributions.
Act.
Okay.
Right, there you go. How do
Everybody
you like
together
that?
now.
Love it. All right, so I'll go ahead and make a motion that we follow the recommendation of the chief financial officer to reduce the 3 line items. As mentioned, we won't mention them again, for a total of $75,000, and resubmit that to the Board of Finance.
Second.
Further discussion? Motion carries. Thank you for all that work.
Okay, yeah.
Last item we got is authorization of scheduled payments. You do this one so well, I'll let you do it.
All right. Move to approve payments in the amount of $136,327.45.
Second?
Aye? Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We are good.
Move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you for a very efficient meeting.
Nice having the notes all laid out for me.
Yeah.